Hi, I'm here today with Renee Lemon from UGA Cobb County Extension at the Center for Children and Young Adults to talk to you about upcoming events hosted by the Master Gardener Volunteers of Cobb County, the 20th Annual Garden Fair and Plant Sale, and the 17th Annual Garden Tour. Now we're going to show you around the center, and as we do that, talk about these upcoming events. Now, from my understanding, Renee, we have a wide range of new features to talk about, right?
We do. I'm really excited about this year. We have the Garden Fair and Plant Sale, which is April 19th and 20th, and it will be at Jim Miller Park. But the difference this year is we have over 70 vendors. Wow. So it's going to be an event for sure. And we're going to have balloon art for the kids. We're going to have some face painting, and I think the Easter Bunny may show up.
Okay, well, I hope you've made reservations because I understand he's a pretty busy fellow this
Yeah,
time
I got
of
that
year.
handled.
Okay, well, hey, I know we got a lot more details to get into, so let's go have a seat and chat about it.
Sounds great.
All right, come on. Hey, that's a nice poster. So what are those 70 vendors selling this year?
Oh my goodness, we have so many cool things. We've got pottery, we've got PVC dog bowls, we have furniture and mosaics, we've got yard art, homemade soaps, honey, quilts, tools, woodwork, and plants.
Wow, a ton of stuff. Yeah, and what about those plants? A wide variety, I'm guessing.
There's really a wide variety. There's vendors that you can buy plants from, of course, but also we have a corral where the Master Gardeners have dug up their perennials, and it's sort of like a pass-along plant. So you can purchase perennial plants that the Master Gardeners dug up and donated.
Yeah, sounds amazing. Now, is this a free event?
It is. It is. It's free parking and free entry.
Okay, and the garden tour. Tell me a little bit about that.
A wide variety, very excited about it. We've got 4 home gardens, and we've got 2 other gardens that we're featuring. One is a thriving daylily farm, which has an active greenhouse, which is my favorite. And then the other place is the Center for Children and Young Adults, which is where we are today. And there's Master Gardeners in the background getting this garden ready for May. Now today, it's a little chilly out here because we're filming in March. But by the time May 11th rolls around, this garden is going to be beautiful.
Well, and that's usually the case. So why did you choose this particular grouping?
I'm really excited about the collection of gardens that we have. The Brown Garden, for instance, on Cherokee Street is very formal. It's from, the house was built in the 1800s, but then you go to Angela Green's garden and it's whimsical and eclectic, and she's got outdoor rooms everywhere and yard art and lights hanging everywhere. So you can get 2 different aspects of gardening all in one day.
Wow, okay. And the theme?
Gardening is for the birds.
Oh boy,
Yes.
All right. So you got to tell me a little bit more about that. How'd you come up with that?
Well, you know, in the last few years, we've focused on pollinators and water conservation, and all that's important. But this year, we decided that we wanted to focus on birding and how your garden can really help the birds. So we're focusing on birdhouses and bird feeders, and we've got bird baths and things like that. As a matter of fact, at the Waldrop Garden, which is the daylily farm, we're going to have an area set up where children can paint little birdhouses as Mother's Day gifts.
Now, these are fundraisers for the Master Gardeners, but it's an educational opportunity as well for the public. That's their benefit, right?
That's exactly right, because all of our gardens are, the purpose of this garden tour is education. We like to pass along the research-based horticultural information that we get from UGA. Mm-hmm. So there'll be publications from UGA at all the gardens. For any questions, there'll be Master Gardeners there to answer your questions.
Right.
Yeah.
Now, we were talking about the theme and the birds and all of that. Here at the Center for Children and Young Adults, we have chickens. And I get that, but these are not just your ordinary chickens, right?
No, apparently these chickens are special. They all have names.
Okay.
And I have not seen this yet, but from what I hear, they actually can play the xylophone.
Is that right?
Yes.
Okay. I guess I shouldn't have expected anything less.
Exactly.
Then, right? Okay.
That's right.
All right, moving right along. Any other highlights for this year's tour?
You know, we've got this really cool new thing that we're doing, and each garden is going to have a raffle. And so we're raffling off different items from the vendors. One of the raffles is from the Georgia Symphony Orchestra, because remember, we are a fundraiser.
Right.
You know, so we've kind of added that element this year, and I'm excited about that.
Okay. Talk to me a little bit more about the private gardens and what makes this particular group of gardens really special.
They're all different, like I said before. Angela Green's garden is very whimsical. It makes you just want to sit in one of the little garden nooks with a cup of coffee and just look at all the beauty around you. Then you've got the Chastain Garden, and that is off of Kennesaw Avenue, and it's he's recreated a garden that you would see in Highlands, North Carolina. So there's lots of native azaleas. It's a shade garden with trails meandering through the backyard. And then you get to the Kicklighter Hunter Garden, and the front is sunny, but the back is shady. But the cool thing about this garden is not only do they have native azaleas and rhododendrons, but they have plants that are native to China and Japan and Korea that he has pocketed in the back. So it's almost like you're going on a little garden tour of the world when you're in their backyard.
Yeah. You know, if I can share something from my personal experience, what I found that people find really fascinating are the things that homeowners actually do themselves, the things that they create, the imagination they use, and all of the sweat equity that goes into their gardens. And that's what the general public really tends to appreciate.
That's right. You know, we always like to say that our tour is not a checkbook garden, because the work that goes on in these Master Gardener gardens is done by the Master Gardener from the knowledge that they gained from being a Master Gardener. They didn't just write a huge check
Right.
and have a landscaper come do it for them.
Right, right. Okay, big question here. What if it rains?
Well,
Keep our fingers crossed.
you need to buy a really cute pair of rain boots and an umbrella, because it is rain or shine event. And remember, this is a fundraiser for us, and we only have the plant sale, garden fair, and then the garden tour. And those fundraisers is what funds all of our projects all year. And we're involved in 58 schools in Cobb County, and we have 17 projects. So the tickets are only $15 a piece in advance, but they're non-refundable. So
Right.
let's just cross our fingers that we get a sprinkle the night before to knock off the pollen, and then it's going to be a beautiful day on the 11th.
Well, and think about this too. It's the day before Mother's Day. You want to do this for Mom, and it's a great little bonding activity. How do we buy tickets to this event?
Actually, it's really easy. There's 3 different ways you can buy tickets. If you know a Cobb County Master Gardener, you can buy tickets from them. If you want to come by Cobb Extension, you can purchase tickets at our office. The address is 678 South Cobb Drive, and we will have tickets available there. Or the easiest is you can go to cobbmastergardeners.com and you can purchase your tickets online.
And advance tickets are a little cheaper, right?
Advance tickets are $15. Tickets the day of the tour are $20. And children ages 17 and under are free. So grab that 16-year-old and tell them you want them to go on the garden tour with
All
you.
right, yeah. Now, these Master Gardener events really tend to push the boundaries, and I'm sure we have a lot of folks out there who are wondering, how can I become a Master Gardener?
That's a great question to talk about now. The applications are available the first week of July, and they will be on our website, cobbmastergardeners.com. And so you go through the application process. The application's available from the 1st of July until the 1st of October. And then I have a selection committee, so we read the applications, we do interviews, we select our folks, because we only have 20 seats a year, because we partner with 3 other counties to do the training. And it's college level learning, so it really is kind of a big deal.
Right, well,
Yeah.
and I have to really share that being a Cobb Master Gardener is really a big thing, because we got stuff to brag about.
We do,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
In 2018, the Cobb County Master Gardeners volunteered over 22,000 hours just in Cobb County. And you know, that's we were about 7,000 hours above any other county in Georgia. We're #1 for 4 or 5 years in a row.
Right, and the county commissioners tend to love that because that translates into dollars.
Money,
that
yes.
they didn't have to spend.
That's right.
Yeah,
And it
yeah.
makes for a beautiful place for people to visit and live.
Yeah. Now, when's the next class start?
The
for
next
Master
class
Gardeners?
will start the second week in January of 2020. But you have to get a jump start. If you're really interested in it, you have to get that application in July, you know, and it takes about 6 months for the process.
Yeah, yeah, great. You know, I really have to hand it to our planning committees. They really know how to put events together and really make things happen.
They really
So
do.
That's another thing to really
It's
be
a lot
proud of.
more than just pulling weeds and playing in the dirt.
Yeah, it is, and you'll learn a lot and meet some really cool people who incidentally can cook like nobody's business.
Well, yeah.
Yeah, that's great. Hey, it's been a pleasure joining you again. Thanks a lot to you and our volunteers, and we hope to see you at the garden fair and garden tour.
The land-grant university system was created to advance agricultural and mechanical sciences 150 plus years ago. And we realized that some of the research that was coming from out of the land grants, it was not reaching the people. So the Smith-Lever Act was passed 100 years ago. The purpose of that act was to create the Cooperative Extension Service, which was to take the research that was created by the land-grant universities and actually give it to the people who could use it.
And so that was the genesis for the creation of the Extension Service, or the Cooperative Extension Service, as it was called at that time. It was to take the research-based information from the university, from that land-grant school, and get it to the people who need it so that they could use it to improve their lives, their economy, and to improve agriculture.
Well, I lived on a farm until I went off to be in the Navy and to go to college. And my father was a very fine and aggressive farmer. And of course, the source of our advice when Daddy wanted to do something better or learn about a new species of peanut or cotton or corn was to go to the Extension Service. And they gave him whatever advice he needed. And it was just like a constant source of inspiration and advice and counsel, and sometimes correction when he was doing something wrong. And as I grew older and when I came back from the Navy and spent the next 17 years as a full-time farmer, I saw firsthand the great value of what the Extension Service offered to everyone in our county, not just farmers, but everybody in the merchants and others who did business with farmers and depended on agricultural income.
My earliest experience with the Cooperative Extension Service came as a result of joining the 4-H Club when I was probably in a middle school age group. They encouraged us to participate in competitions, and we had to learn our various project areas and make presentations in the local and the district competitions. And also, I began to show livestock as a part of my 4-H project and continued to do that for a number of years. So the Cooperative Extension Service and its supervision of 4-H was an important part of my younger years.
I serve Fulton County. It's a large county. We don't have that many farmers, but we have a lot of people. And we have a lot of families that just simply need help. So Extension brings that human touch to our community. We answer the questions directly. We give it to you in a manner that you can understand and you can use, and you can apply it immediately. So Extension is kind of like that friend next door. You may not talk to them every day, but you're really glad that they're there.
One of the advantages that we have is that we're always on the cutting edge of the newest information, the newest research that's coming out of the University of Georgia. And we are a direct source that our clients can come to find that information. We're a filter for that information, and we are able to explain it in a way that people can use it for practical everyday application, whether it's on the farm, in their families, or in their communities.
An increasingly important element of Georgia's and America's total production of food will have to be designed toward meeting the needs of our own country and other nations more than it has been in the past. So I think the gamut of influence of Extension Service, I don't think has been minimized in recent modern days, but I think the opportunities to expand that influence has been greatly increased now, and I believe in the future.
I think the future for cooperative extension across the nation is very strong, and I know in our state it is.
The simple problems in agriculture have been solved, and they've been solved for the last 100 years or so. Only complex problems remain. Our researchers on our land-grant universities working in multidisciplinary teams will provide solutions for these complex and complicated problems. But how you transfer that information back to the farmer, back to the agribusiness, back to the family or the youth development specialists through 4-H is going to be very different. That's where cooperative extension has always been good. That's what their strength is, and that's where we see them being so important in the future.
We're continuing to see evolution in the production of agricultural products, and I expect that to continue. We will probably have fewer farms, but larger farms. And the Cooperative Extension Service certainly has a role to play in that new structure. They've adapted very well to the changing circumstances and the changing economy of our country over the last 100 years, and I have every reason to believe that they will continue to do that here in Georgia for the next 100 years.
The most rewarding part of my job is being able to help people and provide current research-based information for our clients. They come to us over and over for that information because they see us as the #1 source of information that they can rely upon, whether it's for their farm, their agribusiness, or for their families.
Real life changes. Extension brings real life changes, and being that agent in the community, on the ground, being that agent to serve is a pretty miraculous thing.
In all the ways that I had an early developmental life in earning a living and learning how to live as a productive citizen, I would say the Extension Service had a major beneficial effect on me.
I love being out on the water, whether it's open ocean racing or it's flat water. It's a huge amount of enjoyment for me. I like the competitive elements behind it, but also at the same time, it really allows me to reflect on some of the important things of life. It's amazing how, despite all I've been through, my life will always be defined by one moment, one event. Sure, competing in the 1996 Olympic Games in Atlanta was a defining moment for me. Carrying the American flag and leading my teammates in Sydney to compete again in 2000 was a once-in-a-lifetime experience. And having the opportunity to speak, to teach, and compete since then has been a huge privilege in my life. But all of these experiences lead us back to the fateful day, the day I nearly lost my life in a construction accident. On November 19th, 1986, it was a chilly November morning and a typical workday for me. I was instructed to operate the jackhammer, and I was using this jackhammer for about 15 minutes, and all of a sudden, boom, right there, I ended up hitting 3 unmarked buried high voltage cables. There was such a large amount of electricity that was going through these cables, it actually blasted me out of the hole. I ended up sliding back down into the ditch, and there was the energized jackhammer vertically embedded into the power cables, and my knees essentially got sucked back into the energized jackhammer, and that's when I received my second round of electrical shock. The electricity was just shooting throughout my body, and it was finding all these different weak points, the back of my head, my shoulder blades, and those were some of the exit wounds, along with I had 2 toes that were blown off on my right leg. But most of the damage was to the knee area where it came in contact with the jackhammer for the second time, and I had about 1/3 of the knee compartment that was blown away on both of my knees. I was very fortunate because the firefighters were very close by. My heart had stopped because of the large amount of electricity, and they revived me, and then they ended up transporting me to the hospital. And that's where my mother came, and she can actually see the smoke, which was smoldering from my knee area, and that's when my family knew that I was in a lot of trouble, let alone trying to survive. What can I say about an accident like that? It changed my life. Nobody thought I'd be able to walk again. It took nearly 15 surgeries to rebuild my legs and over 3 years before I was able to take a single step without crutches. It's amazing that by today's standards, a simple call, a bit of paint or colored flags would have made a difference. It would have made the difference between me leaving that site on November 19th, 1986 in an ambulance or on my own 2 feet.
Over the past decades, our underground infrastructure has become increasingly complex and congested. As a result, it becomes a serious issue of safety every time we dig. From simple projects like planting a tree or installing a fence, to extensive excavation that involves entire sidewalks, city streets, or agriculture lands. It is important for anyone, for everyone, to call 811 before they dig. 811 is our national one-call number, connecting excavators with their local communications center wherever they are located. The communications center's job is to notify all facility operators with lines in the vicinity of your intended dig site so that they may respond and mark their lines. Depending on state law, the free call to 811 should be made at least 2 or 3 business days before digging is set to begin, to provide enough time for the area to be marked. Neglecting this important step and choosing to dig without having underground utilities marked is choosing to put your crew and the public at risk.
How are you doing this afternoon?
Good about yourself.
Yeah, thanks for coming out. So, what are we looking at here? It looks like we have a lot of high-tech and low-tech equipment here to be able to mark some of these lines.
Absolutely. We use paint and flags to mark where the lines are at. We use this utility locator to help us identify where the line's at under the ground.
So when somebody calls 811, who calls you to come out to mark?
Well, when you call 811, the facility owner gets notified of where you're digging, and they call us and tell us to go out and mark.
So these flags actually carry a lot of authority and a lot of power. They essentially mark where the underground lines are, and they can ultimately save lives.
Definitely, definitely.
Anyone planning to dig must wait the required amount of time to allow all underground utilities to be marked. If markings are disturbed, vandalized, or otherwise worn away in the time between marking and the completion of your project, the communications center should again be notified so that your site may be remarked accurately. There are many opportunities during an excavation where safety precautions can and should be taken, because most accidents can be avoided.
As a first responder, our primary consideration is always scene safety. And because we want to make sure that we are protecting the victim, and we also want to make sure that we're protecting the public. We can't stress enough the importance of dialing 811 before digging. It's the law.
Every excavator has the ability to lead by example, to practice safe digging habits, and remain dedicated to the goal of 0 accidents on your dig site.
Hi, Cliff.
Hi, Megan. How you doing?
I'm good. Looks like you've got a project here.
We do. So what does an excavator need to know in the event that they do damage to a utility?
First thing you need to think is communication. And should it be a gas line, your first step needs to be to dial 911. And after the authorities have secured the scene, call 811. And for other non-emergency damages, even little things like scrapes and dents and scratches can cause big issues down the road. So always call 811 and the facility owner.
So what is the best tip for an excavator if they're going to go ahead and excavate on a site?
Keep in mind those fundamental steps. Call 811 before you dig. Give that locate technician the time to come out and mark underground lines. Then respect the flags and the marks on the ground. And when you do need to dig, if you need to come close to where those marks are within the tolerance zone, don't use mechanized equipment. Use hand tools. You've got to dig safely out there.
Safety, that's the most important thing. And you know, it's not just the employee out on the job site, it's the loved ones at home. That's where it's affected mostly. 25 years ago, when I was involved in my accident, you could see the power of the utility as it blew through my boot. So important to be able to go to work and come home in the same condition.
Couldn't agree more. Safety needs to be our top priority.
A handful of simple steps can help make your excavation site accident-free, protecting the public and your excavation crew from injuries and worse. Calling 811 or submitting an online locate request through your communication center's website is the first step. Waiting to have your site located and making sure the marks are intact and accurate before you dig comes next. And finally, digging carefully with respect for the marks and the underground utilities is critical. It doesn't matter what equipment you are digging with, be it a backhoe, horizontal directional drill, jackhammer, or even simply a hand shovel. Care must be taken, especially within the tolerance zone, because accidents can happen to anyone.
We're never prepared for a traumatic experience. And I learned that, you know what? I can only be the best person that I can be, so I'm going to have to put 100% energy into my rehab process. So each and every step was very difficult, but I had to learn and I had to believe. I didn't even know if I was ever going to be able to walk again, and going to being able to have this honor of representing my country 2 times in the Olympic Games and carrying that flag. You know, how does that correlate between the two? It all goes down to belief. You got to believe in yourself. It's that hard work. It's that determination. It's being able to go out there and build on your foundation. We've got to be able to set those goals, and going out there and being that best person that you can be. That's how you're going to achieve your goal. And you got to believe in it. You got to have faith.
An accident-free dig site is our goal. Dedication to the goal of safe digging is a shared responsibility between the excavator, the locator, the facility operators, and the communication centers that connect them.
Worksite incidents are a traumatic experience not only for the individual or the victim per se, but also for the co-workers and the family. Having a new family member in my life, a beautiful daughter, it really hits home hard. It's just so important to be able to come home in the same condition that you came to work. We never know what we're going to face tomorrow in our lives. Perfect practice makes perfect. It applies like that in sport. You always have to go out there and work on your fundamentals. The same applies when you're out on the work site. Practicing safety, you have to do that every day.
You are choosing to be a hero every time you take the steps to have your dig site accurately marked, keeping your crew and the public safe. Because safe digging is often as simple as knowing what's below. Be a hero. Respect the flags. Brought to you by Georgia 811.
This is the story of a boy who didn't talk for a long time. The boy liked things to always be the same. Any changes would scare and upset him. The unknown was an unfriendly place. The boy was very sensitive to lights and sounds. So he built secret hiding places where they couldn't get in. The boy didn't like looking people in the eye. He wasn't trying to be mean, it just made him feel uncomfortable. Sometimes he would flap his arms again and again.
One day I found out I had something called autism. My family got me help. Slowly, I found my voice and learned all the ways I could live with it better.
Early intervention can make a lifetime of difference. Learn the signs at autismspeaks.org.